Okay, so starting with the basic of neural network, we started with all of that stuff, the neuron and the hidden layer and the output layer, input layer and all of that. Then we moved into CNN, into which we talked about, okay, what is convolution, what is pooling, what is batch normalization, what is max pooling, min pooling, average pooling, and all of that stuff, the kernel size, strides and all that, then flat and then dense and all. Then we moved into RNN with an LSTM cell. We implemented that and we talked about, okay, what is RNN, why it is used, when to use, when not to use, how is it different than CNN, and so on. Today's part is more on generative network. So we are basically left with two types of network to work with. One is the autoencoder, which we'll be going to study today, and another one is generative adversarial network, GAN. So we'll be going to study GAN later on, but today's part is more on autoencoders. So what is autoencoders, how to work on them, when to work on them, when not to work on them, their use case, and then their implementation. This is what we will be going to study on today's part, right? So I'll be getting my tools ready and then I'll be sharing my screen as well. Fine. So what is an autoencoder? Firstly, let's understand. I hope my screen is shared to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So autoencoders is something when you have a data, suppose you have 4 neurons right here, 4 input values right here. Okay. You pass it through the neural network. I'll be drawing neural network with some filled dots. Okay, you passed into a neural network. Then what you did, you took this particular layer and decoded that again into the same neural into the same value set of values.
Okay,
So
my
this
RAM
part,
is 16 GB.
16.
Yeah, installed RAM.
Okay, so if RAM is 16 GB i7 processor, then what's wrong?
I don't know, it went blank the last time I tried to run it on this one.
Is it very older CPU? Is it very older laptop?
No, it's 3 years old. 3 or 4 years old.
What you
I
can do
think a
is
lot of
you can
applications were
you
running at that time actually.
might be actually. So check your task manager wisely that what you can remove into that.
Yeah.
Moreover, what you can do is you, instead of taking 256 classes all of them at the same time, do one thing. Firstly, try to train that for 20 or 30 classes. Okay, just take only
Okay.
20 folders out of it and make a separate folder of reduced data type of stuff. Put that into
Okay.
your path and train that accordingly, right? Then
But
let's
if
see,
it's
is that a
not
problem on
training,
architecture? Sorry.
but if it's not training on a 256 data set, then how it's going to train on thousands and thousands of them?
See, when you perform deep learning stuff, you don't perform it on your own system. That's what I'm saying, that if you will be able to train it on 10 classes or 20 classes, that means the neural network and the code and architecture is absolutely fine. The problem lies in the scalability of this algorithm, and or particularly the scalability of this algorithm on your machine. That is the problem. If it will be able to train on 20 classes. So by training on 20 classes, you will easily get, okay, is this the problem with machine or with my code? If it will be with your code, then we can resolve that. If it will be with your machine, then there is no other way by choosing than choosing the cloud part. So training on millions and millions of data set is all about training on the cloud, not on the personalized home CPUs or home laptops. The gigantic servers are set up for this part. Well, coming on to this part again. So this is an autoencoder, what I was explaining, that we have an encoder part and then we decode this stuff again to generate the same output, which was right here. The same thing we are generating right here. We want the exactly same stuff to come right here. Okay. So this part, this triangular shape is known as encoder. This shape is known as decoder, and this bottleneck, this is known as code. So what is the basic flow? What we are doing is we are giving an input, passing it through encoder. Encoder is a function, so I'll be just displaying it like a channel or so. Okay, some encoder channel. you are getting some code, small piece of information. You're passing that again to decoder channel, again some kind of channel or so layer, and you will be getting the entire same piece of information. You are supposed to get the same piece of information, but obviously you are just kind of zipping and unzipping the thing, so it might be a bit more of lossy transformation, right? This is what an autoencoder look like. Now the question which need to be answered is that why the hell we need to create the same thing which we already have? What is the particular use case? So that particular thing is that when you need to design this thing, you can even design these things in different manner. You can design the code part separately and the decoder part separately. So what you can do, you can compress your information, a kind of 1 KB of information, you are compressing it 10 bytes only, or 4 neurons of information. You saw that we compressed that into, so it was like something this. So there was only 1 neuron, and right here there are 4 neurons and 4 here. So we were compressing the information of 4 neurons into 1 neuron, and then we are compressing in this way that it can be reconstructed at any moment of time whenever we need that. Right.
So why do we
So
do
one,
this?
yeah, why do we do this? For one thing is the compression for the encryption part. So I want to send the data from one place to another. Instead of sending 100,000 bytes, I would be sending only 200, 300 bytes. That's where it is used. First thing. Second thing is something denoising, which I want to explain that later on when we will be comfortable with the types of autoencoders. So that thing will be denoising. I'll be just writing that. Okay. More or less, there are another applications of using autoencoders as well. There are a lot many applications. One of them is about the encryption terminology. One of them is about denoising. One of them is feature pre-processing or feature extraction, feature engineering part. What do I mean by this? See, we have 4 neurons. That means we have 4 columns for a data set. Suppose I want to predict the age of the person, and what I have for that is the height, weight, body mass index, and suppose blood pressure level. So I gave the first part, second part, third part, and fourth part, and I got this stuff. Now it can be used for feature pre-processing, that instead of all of these 4, we can have this one which is representing all of these 4, which like this part can be reconstructed from this. So feature scaling is one of the application which we can accomplish with autoencoders. Moreover, another important thing I want to talk about is that autoencoders are unsupervised learnings, based over unsupervised learning mechanism. What do it mean? That we do not have any some label type of stuff, like we have feature, we need to map it with label. No, we don't have it. There is another mechanism to evaluate the performance of this autoencoder that we'll be going to talk about, but there is no such label feature type of stuff. We always train it on the features only. There is nothing like label, right?
Yeah.
So what we discussed so far is that there is something like unsupervised autoencoders. So autoencoders are only unsupervised. What else we discussed about is the what is autoencoder. There are 3 components: encoder, decoder, and the code. So central part is code. This is input layer, output layer. Input and output layer should be same, not exactly they are same, it should be same. The more closer they would be, the more better our autoencoder is. This is what it means, right? Now there is something like, let's firstly implement our simple autoencoder, and then we'll be going to talk about it much. So what I want to do is I want to give some values. Okay, so this is the value I gave, some 5, 6, 7 neurons. I want to implement it in something like this manner: another hidden layer, another hidden layer, and this is the code, and then just undo of all of that, reverse of all of that, and there we got the output. Now the configuration of this and this will remain same, this and this will remain same, and this will remain same. What do I mean by configuration? The number of neurons basically. Okay, So the parameter of the layers would remain same. So this is the code part, input and output. Let's make the basic, not deep autoencoder. This is what known as deep autoencoder. What is the basic vanilla autoencoder? Something like this I'll be going to do. This is how does a vanilla autoencoder look like. Okay, so there is no deep layers or so, just input, code and output. We encode from here to here and we decode from here to here. This is how does a simple autoencoder look like. Let's see what I want to do is I'll be working on. Okay, so I would be giving you time for your part of implementation, but as of now, let's wait and just see what I'm doing as of now. So autoencoders keras.py. Okay, so I have a data. I have data something like this: 1 2 3 4 5 5 7 9 3 4 2 3. Okay, so this is what my x train is. Let's draw the x test part. I want to test for something 8 2 3 4. Okay, so I want to predict for, rather not test, predict, and there would not be any y because this is an unsupervised part, so there is no y. Now what I want to do is I want to make a neural network simply. So I'll be saying from keras dot models import sequential, from keras dot layers import dense. Okay, I'll be making it on working on VS Code so that I can zoom it up. Alright, so let's create the model. Model is equals to sequential model dot add. We need to add a dense layer with the size. The size is to be 4. What else I need to add? Activation function. Activation is equals to ReLU. As of now, the simplest activation function. What else I need to add is, suppose I would be making a bit more of deep, so I am making few more configurations. Hidden layers size 4. Okay, so instead of 4 I would be making it 3. Hidden layers size. Yeah, and then one more thing I need to have is code size. Code size should be, let's take 1. Okay, so this has an input layer, then the dense layer, and then we need to have the code layer. So for code layer it is again a dense layer with no input dimension, and the size would be not HL size, it will be code size. Then again we need to have the dense layer, and then again we need to have the last dense layer, which is of 4. Okay, let's firstly print the model.summary. Okay, so this is how our model look like. It basically have 5 layers. One of them is input layer, which is not displayed. Then we have a 3, 1, 3. So we have something like 4 here, then 3, then 1. This is the encoder parts, and this is our code. And then we have the decoding of it is in 3 and 4. So we have 5 layers in simple. One of them is input layer, which is not displayed right there, and because it starts from the hidden layer itself, the calculative layers. So we have 3 calculative layers, and one of them is output layer. So the input layer, this layer and this layer are part of encoders, whereas the decoder part is 1, 3 and 4. Okay, so where 1 is overlapping into both of them, decoder as well as encoder. Let's go ahead, see what is there. Fine, let's compile the model. Okay, moreover, yeah, let's take it fine. Okay, so what is the choice of loss we need to take? Any idea?
Binary.
Well, not what is this, sir? No. Not actually binary cross entropy. The reason is you take basically binary cross entropy when you have values between 0 to 1. Right here we'll be going to take MSC or RMSC, and we have an optimizer. We need to take an optimizer of Adam. Okay.
Why don't we use other optimizers?
Sorry,
Why
I
don't
didn't
we
get
use
it.
why don't we use other optimizers?
We can use any other optimizer like SGD or so,
So
but
they do the
that
same job.
particular, no, not exactly. They are meant to do something very differently, and they will fall under the range of hyperparameter tuning that you need to tune very much them. Then only they'll give better result. If you'll not tune them, they might even give the worse result than Adam. So the pre-tuned optimizer come as something like Adam, and that's what we are using in almost all of them. And then I'll be going to train that. Now see, I would be training that on X, where my output layer will not be Y, it will again be X. So I'm training to get X from X, not Y from X. Earlier we were doing X to Y, that means it was mapping one row of X to one row of Y. But now it will be mapping one row of X to the same row of X itself, the same row itself. And then at last I'll be doing print model.predict X test. Something wrong when checking the model input, the rest passing to your model is not expected. We were using input size earlier, that's what I'm confused into. Wait, I'll just check with the previous part that what something silly I'm missing as of now right here.
Didn't we use input shape? that was for okay. Images.
Exactly that was for 2D part, but still I'm confused into that thing. That was it an input shape or input size or what? That was input them only. What else we are missing? It's not about array first of all, so let's remove array. To have shape 4 but got array with shape 1. What's wrong? We have input dim is equals to 8, and let's see the shape of xtrain. It is 576 by 8, and if I'll print the shape of it right here, let's make a brute force attempt. Alright, so something wrong on the shape part also. Let's just remove that. I don't know what's so damn wrong into this. Okay, so what I have done is I have created a demo data.csv file. I hope it will be understood now that I have made basically 3 columns into it, A, B and C column. And then I have some or the other data into it. So now I'm reducing the HL size to 2 and the code size to 1. Okay, so I have a layer for 3 nodes, which is the input dimension, then a layer of 2 nodes, which is HL size, then 1, then again 2 and then 3. So it is like kind of palindrome, 3, 2, 1, then 2, 3. Loss is fine, model.fit, model.predict, xtest, which I would be creating by my own. Okay, so then I am predicting what is the actual X test and the predict for that X test. Whew. I don't know why I'm so dizzy. I'm making a lot of mistakes right today. Still something wrong. Okay, so the value which I have is 543, but what my model predicted is 000. Now let's run that again. You can see that there is no random state, so any one of them will become the train part or test part. The value now is 467, but my model again predicted 000. The reason for this is very simple, that we do not have enough of training for that, and we don't even have enough of data for that part. Now what I'll be doing, I'll be adding some epoch. Okay, let's add the epoch. Let's make few more layers. Or let's make it HL size only. Fine. Still 0. It will be difficult for me right here to create the data on the Excel part. I want to shift this entire part for one thing which we have done for the image classification. We have few images with us. What I will be going to do is I will be taking those images, and from those images I will be just flattening that down, passing that through this my entire autoencoder, and then recreating that image. This is the way I want to explain this part, because as of now, because of lack of data, it is coming up with 000 all the time. Let's do something like that into that data part. Okay, so let's take this image or so. I have this only image, which let this be the name only, and then I would be copying the data calling part, right? So I'll be going to copy from this only part. Okay, so CV2 OS NumPy NP amutils data, no need of Y from keras preprocessing image to array, need not to work on that. Okay, image dot resize 100 by 100. Current text dot reshape or simply flatten. Okay, x dot append current text, fine. So we have a 100 by 100 image size for that part, and I would be displaying that image as well. So I'll be going to say cv dot im show. What is the name for window title for the image, which will be original image, and what image I want to show is current text. Okay, let's run that, and then I want to add a quit for now. I forgot to add wait key. Okay, so this is the 100 by 100 recreation of my image. Fine. So I hope it is clear till now. What is going on at the part? What is this? How I got this image and from where I got this image and why I have chosen this image, or in general why I have chose to move over the image part.
Yeah.
Okay, so why to the image part? Because with the lack of the data, we were not able to see any change into our model, because that was just a 4-row type of stuff with no data training into this. Right now we are having 10,000 features into this model. Okay, into this image, 100 rows, 100 columns, so 100 by 100 is it's 10,000. Now right here we have this, so let's just keep it like this, removing the wait key from here, no quit. Now there will be HL size, which will be from 10,000 I want to reduce my model to 5,000 directly, and I want to make one more HL size too, or simply HL2 size 500. Let's make it 2,000 500, and code size to be of 5 or 10, or else we can take it 16, so that it will be maintaining the aspect ratio 4 by 4. So there is one layer of HL size, one layer of HL2 size, code size, HL2 and HL. At the last I would be having 10,000. Right here I am also having 10,000. Okay, so now I want to take my loss to be binary cross entropy. Stick it 20 only, and no X test, no predict. Now whatever will come as the output will be something like this. Not printing that, it will be something like this: model dot predict X. Okay, so this is what my output is, where my X is this data right here. Okay, so it will give me the output. What I am going to do, I am storing that in Y predicted for I in Y pred, or simply img in white pred, image in white pred. I want to recreate the 2D stuff of that image. For that I'll be saying img is equals to img dot reshape. What to reshape on? 100 by 100. Let's run this. I hope I'm not missing any part in this. The data is not loaded. Okay, let's copy this line as well from there. So this is what my image is. Okay, so something like this it gave in the last. Now this is how it creates when it will be having ample of features and when it will be having enough of architecture to get trained on. Now even my machine is not that much caliber that I can run 100 epochs over this or so, or in the higher dimension. I can show you the comparison by reducing the number of epoch, okay, and even reducing the layers. So I'll just be having HL2 size, that's it, on both the part, or simply HL size. Instead of HL2 size I'll be having HL size. Okay, so the recreated version is entirely blank for this, completely blank, right? But that time the recreated version was having something, some noise into this. My system again is again gone, hanged. Am I audible clearly?
Yeah.
Okay, my system is completely hanged because of this over memory consumption. But I hope you got the gist of it, that when I have trained that for very lesser number of epoch and bit weaker architecture, then it gave me completely blank because that was not possible to be recreated with that architecture. But when I was using a bit more of generic architecture and 20 epochs, it gave me a bit of kind of tried to conversion or to construct that part. If you'll be working on 200 epoch for the same image, it will give you again good amount of results. It's gone. I hope you got it that what I have done as of now. So I have reduced the size to 10 by 10 instead of 100 by 100. Okay, and then from, so this is basically 100 size. So from 100 I am going to 20 and then to 3. Oh, sorry, 20 to 5, 5 to 3, then 3 to 5 and 5 to 20. Let's work on this part. And I'm increasing the number of epoch. Okay, so 10 by 10 image looks something like this, original image. Cannot reshape array. Oh, okay, alright. Right here as well, I need to reshape that. And it gave me entirely black for this. But when you work on good quality servers, when you implement this part, and I can see that my laptop is overburnt as of this time. It's like heating like a lot. Now when I'll be working on good quality system, when I'll be having good amount of architecture and my system will be able to support that architecture, I can recreate the image out of it. I can show you it on Google if it will be available. Well, something like this. You can see that there is again noising into this. So what is denoiser? That I'll be going to talk about. So it took an image, it compressed that into this code. So this was the original part, then it took it into the code, and then it reconstructed that part. So obviously in reconstruction it just failed to reconstruct it entirely, but it have shown the gist of it. This is how does a simple autoencoder work, right? Is it clear, completely clear to you?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to code, it is just the combination of dense layer. The arrangement is known as autoencoder, not the layer. The layer is the simple as dense layer. Now I'll give you time. Just go ahead, implement that on your part. I'll be waiting. Take your data and work on that. Whether you can take the Excel file, CSV file type of stuff, or you can take this data, image, take an image and load it like this. The code is there on the screen. Go ahead and implement that. I will be shutting this. Is that done?
Just a second.
Yep.
Why did we divide x 16th line by 22055?
So we are basically converting that. See, what is a pixel value? It is all the way like 120, 130, 0, where 0 means black and 255 means white. So it is like a shade of black and white. So you can see that when I have recreated that. Now what we are doing, we are creating that shade instead of 0 to 255. We are scaling that from 0 to 1. Just like this model.score does. What does it do? It basically scale your 0 to 100% into 0 to 1. Right? Is it clear?
Yeah.
So that CGPA part in your college or in your school like works the same way. Instead of 100%, now we are getting the rank in 10. So do I need to scroll it down or are you working with it by
Yeah,
your
yeah.
own?
Scroll it down.
Okay. This was the last one.
In the 31st line, why did we do 100 comma activation relu? Like, why did we use
Okay,
the
so that
100?
100 means the input dimension. So we are creating exactly what we had given in input. So our input dimension is basically 10 by 10. So that means 100 nodes are there because we have flattened that down, right? So we are taking 100 nodes
So
to
if I
create
take
100
100
nodes.
by 100, then I'll have to take 10,000.
Yeah, you need to take 10,000. That's what I have done earlier as well, but that was creating the memory issue on my laptop again.
Can you scroll down?
Yeah. So just last one line right there. CV2 dot destroy all window. That's it. Done.
Yeah, it's running.
It's running on your particular image, whatever image you had given.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's read the code line by line. Let's read it together and then understand what we have done. So there are few imports. CV2 for OpenCV part, image processing. OS to get that folder separated stuff like that. I don't need it anyhow right now, but I just have kept it. Okay, you can remove that. That's your choice. Then NumPy simply for numeric array operation, numeric Python operations. Then IAMUtils from IAMUtils import path because of this path part. Then I have loaded the entire name into this data list. So data is a list which has contained all the name of the images. Okay. Then what I made is a blank list, x is equals to blank list. And what I have done for every image and data, I'm saying current x is equals to cv2.im read that image, comma 0, that means black and white. Then resize the image into 10 by 10. And then just IM show. IM show means displaying that image. If you want to do just the computational part, you can comment this out. Now what is this wait key? If you will not put this wait key, then it will not wait for any, it will just come and go away type of stuff. Are you aware of C++? Have you worked on
No.
C++? Okay, so in C++ there is something like getCH to hold the output. But if you don't have worked on this, so just ignore on that. So what it will do, it will just show the image and vanish it away, and this will happen in kind of 0.1, 0.2 seconds. So you look at it like, okay, there is nothing into this, but the image has came and has vanished. So when you have mentioned 0, that means it will wait for a key to be pressed. When you will mention any other another number, so it will come. So suppose you have mentioned cv2.wait key 2. Okay, so it will come, it will stay there for 2 seconds and then it will vanish. So cv2.wait key 0 means that it will wait for one key which I will press, whichever key I will be pressing. Then I have said that, okay, flatten that because I want to work on single dimension, not like 2D. We have worked on 2D with convolution. So I want to flatten that. I have flattened and then appended. So this is my list, which is like a kind of x train x test part. Okay, and there is nothing. Why? Because this is unsupervised. We don't know what it is. I have flattened down, scaled down that entire array by 255, dividing it by 255. Then come my model. So I have HL size to be 20, HL2 size which is 5, and then code size which is 3. I have created a model into which the first input layer is of 100 dimension, then hidden layer 1 is of 20, hidden layer 2 of 5, code of 3, then 5, and then 20. So we have something like 100, 25, 3, 5, 20, 100. This is what, it's a kind of palindrome, right? So we started and ended at the same place, then 20 and 20, and then 5 and 5, and then at the center it is 3. This is the code part. Then I compiled my model for binary cross entropy optimizer to be Adam, and then I have just fit the model. That's how it simply worked. And then at last what I'm doing is I am predicting all the images which are there. For that I'm predicting the y value or simply the value of them as per the model. And what model will be predicting? Basically entire of the image again. And then I'm saying for image, that for one image in that y predict, just go reshape that again to the 2D part 10 by 10 and display that, and then again wait key. And what is this? Destroy all windows. As the name suggests, whatever window of CV2 will be open at this moment of time, this code will be destroying them, ruining out, vanishing out those windows. Fine? Is it clear?
Yeah.
All right. So coming back again to the diagrammatical part, we have made something like this. Firstly, we reduced down the size and then we increased the size. Okay. So from this point of 5 units, we came to 1 unit, and then we are again going to 5 unit. This part is known as encoding and this part is known as decoding, where this means the code. Okay, this is the code part. Now there is something like denoising autoencoder. What is denoising autoencoder? It is the simple architecture like this only, but the difference into that is I have an image into which it's a kind of MNIST dataset image, handwritten digits. So I have handwritten 2 into this like this. Okay, this is what my image is. I will be creating an autoencoder right here. Okay, so suppose there are 4 pixels, 2 rows, 2 columns. So I'd be having 4 values right here as in the input, and my architecture keep on reducing to the code, and then again I'll be having 4 values. But instead of this image to be passed here and this image to be compared here, this is what the simple autoencoder is. Pass this image and compare this thing with this thing, which means model.fit x comma x, the same thing. What we'll be doing, we'll be comparing with this image only, that's true. But we'll be passing the noised image. What is the meaning of noised image? That means my 2 will not look simply like this. It will be having some noises into that, some points here, like random noises. Okay, this is what my image is. So when I will pass this image into this and make an architecture accordingly, that the loss should be reduced from this one. That means what I'm doing something like this is x noisy, and this is x. So I'll say model.fit x noisy comma x, because my input will be x noisy and what I'll be getting is x. So what I'm doing, I'm making a denoising autoencoder. That means I'm making an autoencoder which will denoise my image. What do I mean by denoise and how it will do that? It will be taking an image which is of noise and converting that image and basically making the architecture to denoise that, to make the stable image out of it. And hence when my model will be trained for this part, then at the later on part my model will be doing something like when I will give a noised image where there is a lot of background noise, or when there is a lot of noise because of the night, when you click a picture in the night in the very dark with your normal phone, not with the iPhones also, but with the normal phone of 3 4,000 5,000 rupees, you will see that there is a lot of noise in the image. And so goes with even the higher end cameras, but they are trained to go for denoising also. But so what it will be doing, it is capturing this noise image and training that the model to reproduce the normal image, the refined image, tuned image, something like this, the denoising. Okay, something like this. There was a lot of noise into this, but I was comparing the loss with this one. So what it was doing, it was trained to make out something like this. See this as well, this as well. So you can relate this with something like cam scanner. What cam scanner does is something like same. It has taken a noisy 2, encoded that, put that into denoising mode. So that's variation autoencoder, that's the different part. Is it clear what is denoising autoencoder?
Yeah.
Okay. Now there is one more. Now what? How can you do that? You can simply do that by replacing the line here, model.fit x noisy, comma x, where x noisy is something compiled with x. Okay, so with x you have made something like x noisy with any of statistical method of reconstructing the relevant data. That's how you work basically. Now there is another type of autoencoder that is known as variation autoencoder. Now what does that variation autoencoder mean? We have an input node, hidden layer 1, hidden layer 2, and this is the part for code. Okay, and then the same stuff. But into this code, it will not be a simple one part. This will be something like this. There will be one thing, mean, and there will be another thing, variance, or you can say standard deviation. They both are same. Just the formula is, one of them is square root of another. Okay, so your architecture follow from input to hidden layer 1, then to hidden layer 2, and it split it down into two parts, and then again it is merged to hidden layer 3 and then hidden layer, sorry, this is 1 2 3 4, so hidden layer 4 and then 5 and then output layer, this is 5, right? So what does it be giving? So this is mean and this is standard deviation. So what we are basically doing, we are creating the variation with the autoencoder. What type of variation? If you are aware of some Facebook apps or so, that how will you look after 10 years, something like this.
Yeah.
So that is basically created with variation autoencoder. So what it will do, it will basically take an image, add the variation into this. Okay, so if you can see right here or right here, it's taking one image and keep on adding and adding and adding the variation, and it will make altogether different face obviously, but built over from your image. So you can check that on Instagram and Facebook or so. How will you look after 10 years? So it'll take a kind of image of yours and it'll keep on passing them again and again and again and again with variation or encoder, and they'll give any random image built from your face with some noise into it. The noise could be like more amount of wrinkles, more white hairs, some dull skin, something like this. Okay, so with that they basically add the noise. This is the noise part, variation part. We are taking the mean and adding the standard deviation into it, and then we are passing back again. So this will create look alike of this with a variation, and this variation is customizable. This is how does a simple variation autoencoder look like. Writing the code for variation autoencoder might just shoot overhead as of now. It will be difficult to understand the entire architecture of variation autoencoder, but when we'll be understanding GAN, generative adversarial network, in the next time, you will realize that it is more or less relatable with VAE. So that time it will be easier for us to understand VAE again. But as of now, the theory part you can think of like, okay, what is VAE? When we construct a kind of autoencoder, but we instruct our autoencoder to add some sort of variation in the code. In the code means the center part, not the program. Code means the centralized part, the coded, encoded part. Okay, add some variation in the code so that it will produce not the image which we had given, it will produce the relevant image with some intentional noises. Okay, or if you are aware of that Face app, it has been banned I guess as of now, but this is what Face app was doing. It was taking your image and making you look like, okay, if how do you look like after 10 years. So it has added wrinkles, some oily type of skin and all of that. This is how does how is Face app working, a bit of it. So 3-4 different shades of a same person has been built, one with a smile, one with wrinkles, one with beard, and so more precision into this one. Okay, so this is the power of autoencoders and variation autoencoders, and this is where you can basically use the power of unsupervised learning with neural network. Right? Is this entire part clear to you?
Yep.
Completely? So
Yep.
we discussed about what is autoencoder, what are the applications of autoencoder, how to work on autoencoder, and we worked by our own on an autoencoder to reconstruct an image. We failed to reconstruct because of system crashes, but we have given a lot of try to create somewhat close to it. We failed because of system not allowing for that and RAM issues and all of that. But if you'll work on the scale of that, if you'll increase your model architecture, if you would have an excess of cloud systems or so, GPUs machine or so, you would be easily able to create the image which look entirely or exactly the same way. Right? So next part we'll be talking about GAN, generative adversarial network, that how to generate. So what these algorithms are known as grouped as, they are basically grouped as generative network. This is something we are doing with generation. We are not doing traditional stuff like mapping x to y or x features to labels or so. We are generative. We are working in the generative class of neural network, which is capable enough to generate something on the basis of given input. This is VAE, and with a different method of adversarials and classifications and resistance. That is the method of GAN that we'll be going to study about. Right? Any doubt into this entire class of today?
No. Not yet, at least.
Yeah. So I would be expecting that you will be practicing at your home for this particular part. And then see, what is the benefit of autoencoder again? You can even denoise your data while before passing it to the actual machine learning network of classification also, or else you can create multiple copies of your data. So suppose you have a cat and you are lagging in data. Okay, so you have 500 images, but you need 2000 images. So what you can do, you can add the noise into that with variation autoencoder, and you keep on
Basically
refabricating your
creating
data.
data.
Yeah, creating the data exactly. So instead of 500, now you would be having 2000 rows or as many number of rows, whichever you want, which will be dependent over the features of this particular path only. The genetics would
But
remain the same.
if we do that, won't it decrease the accuracy when we try it on the test set?
Not exactly. See, what is the difference between actual data and fabricated data? If you are fabricating it well, that means you are making it as clear as actual data. So if you fail to fabricate it well, if instead of cat you are fabricating dog, that means you are reducing the accuracy. But with a cat you are creating another cat. That means you are increasing actually the accuracy with the data itself. Because the more amount of data you'll pass, the more accurate your model is. So if you are good enough into fabrication, you will at the end increase the accuracy. But if you fail into fabrication, you might end up into like bad results also. So until unless you are not very much comfortable with your fabricated data, don't pass it on to the main neural network. Even in your 256 classes dataset, you can see that some of the classes are having good amount of dataset, and another of the classes are having only 10 or 15 or 30 or 100 handful of images. So you can even try recreating for them if you would be having access to GPUs or so. So this is how deep learning comes into picture for all the sort of problems related to image processing, camera related stuff, or convolutions or text analytics with RNN or so. Right. So see you in the next class then regarding GAN, and then we'll be going to talk about everything different. Like again, a kind of generative approach with the neural network, bit more in advance. So no more simple CNN, no more simple RNN. We'll be working on the complex architecture, the hybrid architecture of two or more things. Okay, even into autoencoder, we have worked into hybrid of encoders and decoders. So GAN would be again a hybrid approach for the same.
Okay.
Okay, all right then. See you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.